So, welcome back to another episode of the Half and Half Scarf Football Podcast with me, Nick, and my mate Dom. As our new strapline says, two fans, two teams, never on the same scarf. For those who don't know, Dom and I are both season ticket holders at Middlesbrough, but Dom, by geography, also lives in the Wirral and had a season ticket for Everton for 20 odd years as well. So that's the two fans, two teams, never on the same scarf mentality. So we're flying through these episodes, and this is episode 49. Now, we're not the kind of podcast that does tactical analysis, reviews of games. There's plenty of people out there doing that, mostly hosted by Gary Lineker or Gary Neville, to be fair. We don't do end of season awards. We don't do goal of the season. We don't do player of the year. We're not that kind of podcast, but we do plaudits and we do barbs. And I was going to call it brickbats, but I didn't know if any of our international listeners would know what a brickbat was. So without further ado, and this is interesting because I have put together a list. Dom's been away in America, and Dom hasn't seen the list of who goes in which column for the Premier League and indeed the Championship, which are the two we're doing on this episode. And next week, episode 50, we're going to do Leagues 1, 2, Scottish Premier League, and a few European observations. So we're really nailing the end of season. But you've not seen this list, Dom, so it might be controversial. You might agree with everything, probably won't agree with all of it. But what's your thoughts, mate?
I'm looking forward to it. I know nothing about this. We haven't talked about it, have we, at all? So I'm coming into
No.
this blind. So you'll be able to gauge my reactions and we'll see how we go. I mean, we do agree on a lot, don't we? But there
Yeah.
might be the odd one, the odd surprise. So yeah, I'm looking forward to what you discuss, mate, and
Okay.
I'll
Let's see what we
respond
go.
accordingly. Let's go. Yeah.
Let's go with the plaudits for the Premier League first, okay? And I mean, it makes sense to give Arsenal the plaudits for winning the first title for 20 odd years. Is it 20 years? 20 years since they won the
22
title.
years. 22 years.
Fair dues. It's been 6 years in the making. Pretty shit football, to be fair. I'll be honest with you. They bore me, but they don't bore me as much as Man City used to bore me with pass, pass, pass. But well done, Arsenal. And we recorded this on the morning after the Champions League final. And unlucky, well, not really unlucky. I think PSG were the better side. But well done, Arsenal, on winning your first title. There's your first plaudit. What's your view on Arsenal's season this season, Dom?
I would agree. I was always a bit miffed why everyone wanted Man City to keep winning it. Surely just for the sanity of football, you want different people winning it.
Yeah.
I would agree on the football. I think they're very good at holding the ball, passing it around. Is it been sparkling football? No, but they've actually got it over the line, and it is difficult to win a Premier League or any championship over a season. So they've done it. Well done to them. I congratulate them, and I am genuinely pleased. And I did want them to win above Man City. So
Yeah.
yeah, it has been long in the making. I think they can really kick on from here, to be honest. But I hope the football improves. And I'm not having a go, but I think a lot of people would agree. It's not been. You're not going to look back on this season and remember all the sparkling things Arsenal did, are you? Really? Let's
No.
face it.
Not really. Okay, we're going to do these quite quickly. We've got a lot to get through. We're mentioning probably almost every team in both divisions, or certainly a big chunk of them. My next plaudit is Michael Carrick, to be fair. I mean, I'll be honest with you, he's had a fairly easy run because we've not had any European or Cup distractions. We've not had any sort of Saturday, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesdays, apart from the odd Premier League midweek game, which are very rare, those. So he's had a good run at it, but I think he seems to have given Man United their belief back, a bit of spark. He's just organised them. Funnily enough, he seems to me like he's put round pegs in round holes and square pegs in square holes. And funny enough, football not that complicated, is it? So well done, Michael Carrick. And as a Borough fan, he left us. We were bored sick by the end, and he ran out of steam with us. But we all wished him well. He's a lovely guy, isn't he? So Carrick for me gets a doff of the cap, really.
Yeah, he does. We always said, didn't we, that if he was really good at Borough, but then he did run out of steam. He ran out of ideas. He didn't really ever have a plan B. It was quite frustrating what he was trying to do. And maybe it is one of those things where someone of his caliber runs out of ideas or can't affect what he wants with the players he has. At Man United, he has the luxury of being able to play with, let's be honest, better players. If they're doing what he asks them to do, they should be able to
Mm.
execute it better. Maybe he's learned a few things as well along the way. I mean, if you're going to be a good coach, you need to, don't you?
Yeah,
Um, Everyone at Borough wished him well. really likable guy. So yeah, I think he's just gone in there. He knows Man United through and through as well. So he's probably been able to bring a bit of old school Man United and simplicity to it. I hope he kicks on because I really like him, and I think they've done some good things and played some good football back end of the
Mm,
season. But different kettle of fish next year, isn't it? With all the competitions they're in. So let's wait and
yeah.
see. But yeah, got a lot of time for Carrick. So well done to him. Absolutely.
Okay. My view is that he got the job on merit because who else would they give it to? And it'd be wrong not to, wouldn't it?
I
Really. But
agree.
let's
Yeah,
see
I
how
agree
it
with that.
goes.
Yeah, and I'm glad Man United did do that. Why complicate something if it's working for you? Why go back out and I get. I was a bit, we're not very brief. I'm a bit miffed when people say, "Oh, they still need to go and get a really high quality coach." It's like, well, that hasn't worked for you, has it? And who's out there
No.
who wants the job? He's done everything that you want from a coach.
Yeah.
That's what you want when you bring a new manager in. He's done exactly what they hoped for. So you'd
Yeah.
absolutely continue with that completely. Yeah.
Okay. Let's not be nice all episode. Let's go for a few barbs. I'll
Mm.
mix them about, right? Okay. I've got my first two barbs are two big clubs. Okay. Number one, Chelsea. Absolutely. I'm 10th in the league, right? And they give it all that we won the World Club Championship. You won a Mickey Mouse tournament that no one absolutely cares about whatsoever. You beat PSG, big deal. You beat PSG, who were at the end of a season, who'd had no break, who weren't the PSG who turned up against Arsenal or turned up against Bayern in the semi-finals. And you're some kind of World Club champions for the next 4 years, and you're wearing that double badge.
I know.
Chelsea, you
No,
are an embarrassment. You finished 10th. Your recruitment's shocking. Your bending the rules is shocking. And I hope and wish you nothing but ill. And I hope you keep going plummeting down the division. I hate everything about what they stand for. And particularly this, we are the World Club champions. You won something that no one cares about and you finished 10th.
yeah, it was the fact that they applied for and wanted to get that to be able to put the badge on their shirt. A bit like Champions League winners do and Premier League winners.
Ugh,
It's God Almighty, see just how low you've stooped. Their whole model stinks. I mean, they have become a club where Bowley, all he wants is to maximise profit on players. Then
yeah,
he's not wanting to build a team. I really don't think Alonso will fit well there. I don't think he'll get to do what he did at Leverkusen because Chelsea won't let him because that's not how Chelsea operate. I mean, we're speaking, obviously, we are slightly biased in that we also have a loathing of Chelsea of just going way back as to how they were back when we got promoted back in '88 and onwards. They were a loathsome club then, and they're a loathsome club now. Not knocking their supporters in any way. If you support them, fine. I know they've got a lot of glory supporters as well.
yeah.
You know, I've commented a few times on the pod, in comments, and I know there's a few Chelsea fans, and they're proper die-hard Chelsea fans who've been Chelsea fans 40, 50 years. That's great. But we all have clubs that, from a neutral point of view, you want to see them do well, etc. Chelsea are never that club for anyone,
No,
just because of how they've been operated since Abramovich took over, and then from there on. Prior to
yeah.
that, maybe I quite liked what Matthew Harding did and how he brought in players of that ilk, and Zola and Hullett and all of those, and what they were trying to achieve. But once Abramovich took over, I just lost all interest completely, and I'm so ultimately that's how I agree with you, mate, on that one.
No problem. Next big club, Liverpool, finishing fifth. And it's more about that's that as reigning champions to finish fifth, they'll be way off the pace, by the way. Very sort of bang average season, but
Mm.
still in the Champions League qualification.
Yeah,
And yesterday they sacked Arnie Slot. Now I don't know what the background of that is. Has he lost the players? There was a lot of stuff with Salah and a lot of stuff with players liking Salah's comments and all that kind of stuff. And I think they've done it because Iriola's available, isn't he? And Iriola looks like the right fit for the style of
yeah,
football. But Liverpool must do better.
absolutely. Um, yeah, when they played us in the derby at the Hill Dickinson, they were abject and they were happily playing for a draw. They got the win because tragically, I said tragic is probably the wrong word to use. I shouldn't really have used tragically, but woefully, Everton are appalling at the back. And again, another set piece goal gave them the winner in the 98th minute. But up until
Yeah,
that point, until that corner, they offered really very little in the game, and I think they were just happy to kick about for a draw. So yeah, when I've watched them and I've watched them on TV and stuff, they've been really abject for me, really really
Yeah,
poor. And you know, I know a few players who are, Salah's gone, Robertson's going, and I know you might say those players are past their best, but sometimes it's what they bring behind the scenes, and I think it really is an end of the Klopp era now in terms of all those
yeah,
players that are flushing through. I agree on Areola because I think is he called Richard Hughes? I think is he director of football at Liverpool.
yeah.
He was at Bournemouth, and I think he recruited Areola and some of those players. So it probably is a good fit. I think he'll do really well. I've seen a lot on social media people saying that when Areola said he was leaving Bournemouth, loads of Everton fans were saying we should be sacking Moyes and going and getting him. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that because every club has different dynamics and how things work. Not that he
Yeah,
wouldn't do a great job at Everton, but I do think he's an absolute shoe-in for Liverpool, and I think he'll do really well there.
I did hear yesterday there's a short list and there's only him on it, so that's the
Yeah,
shortest list you've ever seen, isn't it,
yeah.
really, to be fair.
Yeah, I
It's a
think he'll
pretty,
do. I think he'll do well. I think maybe they're going that direction, mate, because it is the end of the Klopp era, and they need to
yeah,
start again. And I think
I
he's the
agree.
kind of coach to do that. So yeah,
Let's do two more barbs and then we'll get into the good stuff as well.
yeah,
Newcastle, what's your season been about? That's all really. Eddie Howe, has he taken them as far as they could go? I don't know. I think he probably has. It wouldn't be a bad idea to get rid of his number two, who we have no love for on this podcast. But
yeah. Does
for
anyone
you,
like Jason Tyndall? What an irritating man he is, really.
yeah,
But I really admire what Eddie Howe's done there. I think he's done a fabulous job at Newcastle.
he has.
You look at what he's done over that time, and you know, I don't mean this to be nasty, but I think a lot of Newcastle fans suddenly thought they were going to become the next Man City, and that's where the PSR rules have not been dealt with or applied fairly across the last few seasons. Let's be honest. The Premier League have made it up as they've gone along, which has been
Yeah,
really
yeah,
unprofessional. But what they have done, and what future incarnations of that have done, is they are applying some restrictions in terms of you can't just run away and spend what you like. Although Man City always seem to manage it somehow. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know many clubs who can go out and spend 110, 15 million quid in January. Um, but I think Newcastle have really discovered that actually being owned by a country doesn't suddenly give you carte blanche to kick
no,
off win the league. And let's face it, we're all being in Newcastle does restrict you in terms of players who will come to you. It shouldn't, but it does. If they can go to Liverpool or Man City or a club in London, they probably tend to go there. Unfairly, I suggest. But yeah, their season's been a very perplexing one. They've had weeks where they've been brilliant to watch, and other weeks where they've been absolutely terrible. So
yeah,
I'm really, I'm with you. I'm intrigued as to where they go from here, and I would also be probably slightly disagreeing that I think Howe's run his course because I'm thinking, well, if you get rid of him, I really can't see who goes in there and kicks on for them. But then I would probably stick with him to be honest and let him
yeah.
go again. Uh,
Not my call. I've got no skin in that particular game. I just think
me neither.
to
Me
finish
neither.
12th is pretty. For a club who've got aspirations
It's
and got
pretty
money
poor. Yeah,
and
I would
got money
agree.
that they can't spend.
Yeah.
The next bar before I go on to the good stuff, you might fall out with me about this, mate. Everton fell off
Oh,
a cliff.
I would agree with you. No, I'm not going to fall out. I think the last 6, 7 weeks of the season just terrible.
Yeah,
Honestly, mate, the Sunderland game at home was appalling. They were all over the place. We were struggling first half, managed to get a goal out of nowhere. They were, what I really like about Sunderland is they don't play all this endless tippy tappy football for the sake of it. They just go for the jugular. If they can knock a ball long but get it to someone and be effective, they will,
mm,
and they're really good at doing it. We were our usual self of couldn't keep the ball, terrible in possession, frailties at the back, which have been slowly getting worse in the last quarter of the season.
mm.
And I hate to say this, but everyone was saying it, and I was saying it as well. Spurs must have been licking their lips last game of the season because they haven't won at home in 2026. You can guarantee that when they need to win,
Yeah.
who are we playing? Everton. Oh, well, that's nailed on then. And it was. We were
Mm.
absolutely shit at their
Never
places.
turned never turned
Never
up at,
turned
at, at
up.
Spurs, did you?
It's embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. We had before the derby, we were actually competing, strangely enough, for fifth.
Yeah,
We were playing that well, and it's just completely dropped off.
you
You
finished
know,
third. You finished 13th, mate. I mean,
13th. It
that's
was awful, and I think we. I can't, I'm not very good on stats. I never. I think we won one out of our last 7 games.
yeah,
Just terrible, and the Sunderland one as well. We just gave up. Substitutions were poor. Beto actually as a striker has been pretty good this season. Barry's been fairly woeful at the back, and I'll say this right now: if Moyes continues with Tarkowski in the team next season as first choice, he's going to get absolute pelters because Tarkowski this season has been, and I'll put it bluntly, shit. He's
yeah.
been really, really bad. He was really solid the last 3 seasons, but he's loads of glaring mistakes, and he should not be first choice next season. And if we don't sign, he's never liked Patterson, so he's going to be sold. So he's never liked him as right back. Seamus Coleman's now gone. He hasn't played any meaningful football for the last 4 years. So I'm glad.
I got it. I'll let you rant only a little bit because we're going
I
through a
know.
lot
I
here.
know. I know you're very briefly.
I wanted to check whether or not you agreed with me on
No, I
Everton
do
because
agree, and you can see I do. And if he starts next season without a new right back, and he needs to start playing Branthwaite and O'Brien together at the back of their natural centre backs, get another left back, look at another striker option, and we go again. But yes, a terrible end to a season that was had some promise in it, so very underwhelming, mate. So I fully agree with you, and every Everton fan will as well, mate.
I think at Easter when you looked at it, you were in the conversation with everyone about Europe, and then
Yeah.
I looked at, and I was shocked when I looked at the league table. I thought, Christ, 13th. You were talked about for fifth, sixth, certainly Europa League, and it just fell off a cliff. So
Well, we,
let's
we just yeah because we also went out of each cup in the first round with a whimper, which Everton fans really value a cup, and Moyes just didn't
yeah.
prioritise them at all. So Europe really was the one. So for it all to just go tits up, yeah, it's been a really
Yeah,
poor season.
no worries. I'm going to give three big shout outs. We're not going to discuss them too much. Aston Villa, Unai Emery, elite. That's all I'll say. Bournemouth,
Brilliant, absolutely
Iriola.
brilliant. Yeah,
Iriola, let me do the three and I'll come back. So we'll do all three. So Iriola at Bournemouth, what a fantastic job he's done. Having his best players sold out from underneath him and their recruitment, where do they get Croupy from and people like that, for
I
God's sake?
know.
And then the next one, massive apology, which this is probably going to come to Keith Andrews at Brentford. Keith Andrews, we discussed him on the manager merry-go-round at the very start of the season. This is episode 49, one of the very early episodes. We talked about who's going to be under pressure we thought, well, I thought Andrews wouldn't last until probably November, and he's done. And I apologise, Keith Andrews, finishing ninth. I know you missed out on Europe, but sensational performance. So Villa elite, Bournemouth superb, and Brentford well done. What's your thoughts?
Completely agree. Aston Villa have been brilliant to watch. Watching them lift the Europa League was wonderful. Really like Villa as a club. I think Emery is a superb manager. He came into Villa and just he hasn't got any world class players, but I think that proves how good a manager. I mean, I've
Yeah.
said the same. In fairness, I'm not a big Pep fan, but I've said the same about Pep. Pep manages to elevate players and get them playing as a team to become a
Mm.
world class team without world class individuals. Although you could say Haaland, etc. is, but yeah, brilliant what he's done there. I mean, he is the master of the Europa League, isn't he? I'd like to
Oh,
see him. I'd love to see him kick on. Of all the managers I'd love to see win a Champions League, I think he's up there because he's superb. Areola, yeah. Again, Bournemouth recruitment. Every season they've lost all their best players. A bit like
yeah.
Brentford as well. I mean, there's the signing of Rayan in January to replace Semenyo, and he's been brilliant. They
Mm.
were, yeah, what a fantastic job he's done. And I would,
He's a beast, that Red. He's like
yeah,
19.
he is.
He's like
Yeah,
Wayne Rooney when he was 16. He's
yeah.
like a man child, isn't he? And he's a big handful, isn't he?
They play, yeah, and they play so well as a team. Home and away, they're so confident. They knock it around really well. They've been superb. And in fairness to both of us, mate, about Keith Andrews at the start of the season, I know we both really wished him well. We didn't wish ill of him, and we not once did we say we felt he was incapable, but we felt it was an odd choice by Brentford because he had no experience. But then when you look at it, actually, that's it just shows the old adage of what do we know, because Brentford stick to a
Continuity.
model of they stick to a model of what suits and is good for the club, and they knew he was the right fit, and he absolutely has been. And again, recruitment wise, lose key players, they go out and sign other ones that no one's ever heard of, and they've been
Yeah,
brilliant. And yeah, on the just last game of the season to miss out on Europe, he's been. And do you know what? I don't think there's any issue that he won't kick on and do really well again next season. I think he will.
yeah, I agree.
And same with Bournemouth. I don't know much about the guy they've brought in, but their model of how they operate, a bit like Brighton, it's how the structure operates. So I don't really see Bournemouth dropping off. I think they'll be good.
Who've they
I
brought
can't
in?
remember who it is, mate. I can't remember what his name is, but I've already heard reports that he came in early at the end of the season before his contract starts and had 2 or 3 days with Areola around the complex.
Yeah,
So they're probably all ready to go and all guns blazing. So
yeah.
yeah, massive shout out for all three. I fully agree on all three of those. Yeah,
And Bournemouth and Brentford particularly, you'll find some wonder kid from the
they
Chilean
will.
third division
Yeah, yeah,
somewhere.
they will. Their
Yeah,
recruitment and how they operate is just brilliant. I think
sensational.
every club should have a pay attention to what they do. So yeah,
Yeah. As a Borough fan, the next two are going to stick in my craw a little bit.
yeah, yeah.
I'm going to give plaudits to two teams. I want Sunderland. I mean, my God, right? And Leeds. I'm going to, oh, I hate doing that. Hang on. Oh, feel a bit ill. Feel a bit ill. Um, but as a Borough fan, you'd have to look at it as a championship club, which we still are. And we'll come on to that shortly. To see Sunderland finish seventh in their first season up, and rightly so, by the way. And then to see Leeds, who until I think it was October, November when they were getting beat at City, and I think it was through injury, Farker suddenly switched to three at the back and accidentally or otherwise found his sort of mojo. They've been brilliant since then, in
Yeah,
terms of the run they've been on. They finished 14th and they were well clear of trouble. And again, from a championship perspective, it's great that two out of the three who came up haven't gone straight back down. And by the way, apart from Leeds in the first few weeks, haven't looked like going down. Sunderland started off like a train. They've been sensational. And European football at the Stadium of Light, wow, that's going to be good, isn't it?
oh, yeah. I'm really pleased for them, mate. I've had many a good away day at Sunderland. Most of their fans are absolutely belting. You can always have a really good bit of banter and a good conversation.
Yeah,
When you think of what they've been through the last few years as a club, and the 4 or 5, 6 years they were stuck in League One, I I'm really pleased for them. I'm really happy for them. And do you know what? When they go away from home, they're brilliant. When they came to the Hill Dickinson in the cup and in the league, they don't spout nonsense, nasty songs. Their
no,
band is all about promoting themselves and supporting their team. They're really good around the fan zones. There's no issue with them. I'm. They must be having a ball, and rightly so. I mean, look,
mm,
they've just they've just been brilliant, and I think they'll give it a real go in Europe next season. I mean, I agree with you. What an atmosphere is going to be up there! Absolutely superb. And
yeah.
and again, all these people who wanted Farker out at the start of the season or early in the season, to be careful what you wish for. The guy's a good manager, and
Yeah,
they've Leeds have competed in every single game. They've given everyone a game this season. They haven't slacked off. They haven't backed off. They haven't, caved in. They've acclimatized as the season's gone on.
I think they got battered home and away by Arsenal, but other than that, I don't think anyone's given them a hiding, have they?
Yeah, exactly right. And I think by the end of the season, they were comfortably ticking along, and
Yeah,
you'd expect them to do well next season, or at least bed in a bit more. So
I think I think I think the
I was just
challenge
going
with
to say I'm
Leeds,
pleased. I was just going to say I'm very pleased that for once, two teams that have come up have bedded themselves in and really competed, and it just
yeah.
shows it can be done. Yeah,
The problem with Leeds is Farker's already making noises about, back me or sack me kind of thing, which is a bit
yeah,
weird. So you wonder if I mean, he's never been in a stronger position, has he? Finishing 14th and, keeping the team well up to say, back me because I want some more players, I want some more money.
yeah.
But is he doing that because he thinks he's taking them as far as he can go? I think a lot of Leeds fans still don't fancy him, do they? But, a bit weird,
No,
really. But there you go.
no.
My last plaudit is Palace, not for their league form. But what a year for Crystal Palace. FA Cup winners. Charity Shield, doesn't really mean anything, but they beat City, didn't they, in the Charity Shield? So was it City
Mm.
they beat in the Charity Shield? Yeah.
Yeah,
But to win the Europa, conference, The one
Confederations League, whatever it's called, or conference. Oh, I don't know what it's
Conference League,
called.
yeah, but
Yeah,
it's still a European trophy, isn't it? And it gets them. Given that they weren't allowed to play in the Europa League because of Forest
yeah.
kick it off, and Forest then get beat off Villa in the semi-final. I don't think Palace would have won the Europa League, but they've won the Europa Conference. As every English Premier League team who's in the conference should start as favourites for that league, by the way, that tournament. But what a year for being a Palace fan. And you know what? Glasner, what you doing, man? Stay. They name a stadium and a statue after you, wouldn't they?
I
Stay.
know. I really, yeah. That's a really good point you make. I've thought about this a few times. I'd love to know what's gone on behind the scenes there because I'm really curious as to why he wants to leave.
Mm,
And maybe he thinks, and I don't think big-headedly. Maybe he thinks, and this is no disrespect to Palace either, by the way. Maybe he thinks he's worthy of a job at
so-called.
a so-called big top team. I hate those phrases, but you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, maybe that's part of it, or maybe he feels he's not going to be given the funds to kick on and go. Maybe he's got a set idea of what he wants to do, and the club can't give him that. I don't know. I don't really know. I think it's perplexing because when you think about what he's done, it's absolutely amazing. As a
Yeah.
Palace fan, you'd be literally pinching yourself because they've played great football to do it. And again, they lost Gay and Eze, and they've just kicked on and carried on as they've gone. And they've played some really good teams in that competition. I mean,
Mm,
as an Everton fan as well, I'd have loved to be in that mix of being in that competition and having some of those European nights and
yeah.
just what I mean. They beat some good teams and they've flown through it and and they're a really good club, Palace. Their fans are amazing. So for them to have that is brilliant. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where Glasner goes from here. I'm with you. I'd have liked him to have stayed. It'd be exciting for Palace if he had.
The bit that gets me with Palace is once he announced he was leaving, they didn't drop off a cliff. They did a bit in the league, but often when a manager says early on he's going to leave at the end of the season, form goes out the window. But they've stuck to this European conference and they've gone, you know what, we're going to win this, aren't we? And they've done that really well.
Almost took the pressure off, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Almost,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
almost like we all know where we stand now. Let's just crack on and play football. And it almost did,
yeah,
did better. I just hope it's not one of those. I always love when teams like Palace and just teams other than the usual teams do well. And I
mm,
always worry when they lose a manager, and players start walking out the door. Is that the end for them? And do they have to reset and go again? I think what's great is what we've just been talking about with the likes of Bournemouth, Brighton, etc., Brentford. If everything's right behind the scenes, it shouldn't really affect it that much.
yeah.
So yeah, I think
I do,
there's hope for us all, mate. Yeah,
I do think that Adam Wharton not getting the World Cup squad might mean that he stays at Palace because I think he'd have been in the shop window a lot more if he'd have been in the World Cup squad. But hopefully, if they can keep Adam Wharton, then that's that. He ran the show in the final. He was
yeah.
absolutely sensational in the final.
I love watching him. I watched him a lot last season at Goodison and this season at the Hill Dickinson. Oh, what a player he is!
Yeah,
He just does all the simple things really, really well.
yeah,
Really
he
well. He's
does.
so confident for a young kid. I'd have taken him to the World Cup personally, but we're all going to have opinions on that. But I think he was. I think as an England manager, you should be looking at those kind of players and taking them along.
Yeah,
He'd have been brilliant at the World Cup. But yeah, let's hope Palace keep him. And he looks like he's happy playing his football there as well. So
he
yeah,
does. He's the thing. I love this phrase. Someone said to me, "Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one, mate." So
yeah,
we're quite like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
I'll just throw that one in. I'm gonna do three finishing barbs and brickbats, and then I'm gonna leave a special one for the end. Okay. The three barbs and brickbats clearly are in reverse order: Wolves, Burnley, and West Ham. Right. You all went down. Wolves shocking. Burnley didn't bother. West Ham think you're a big club, run like a Sunday League team, crap leadership, crap management, fans who want to play the West Ham way, shit stadium. It was your turn, but it was only your turn because the last barb I want to give is Spurs, right? I'm sick to death already of seeing Spurs fans saying, well, it won't happen again. We've been promised this, we've been promised that. I'm telling you now, Spurs fans, you finished 17 2 years in a row. I class that as circling the drain. Now, unless something significant happens at Spurs and that improves your injury record or you get a better, team involved, circling the drain 2 years in a row, quite often you see teams who circle the drain drop through the drain hole. So you got away with murder this year. You got away with the fact that Everton played you on the last game of the season
Yeah.
and couldn't be bothered. So if you hadn't have had that, you'd have been down. So Spurs, my special barbs reserved for you and your fans who think you're bloody special. You've been shocking for 2 seasons. You were so close to going down. I know I've got no issue with the club, no issue with the fans, particularly apart from we're a massive club, we're too big to go down. You're not. 2 years in a row, finishing 17th. It might be your season next season, but West Ham, Burnley, and Wolves, you finish where you finish in the Premier League because the table doesn't lie. Welcome to the Championship.
Yeah. I don't agree with you as much on the West Ham front. I feel for West Ham. I know a few West Ham fans and really good people, and I think as a club and their fans, they've suffered quite a lot. What a mess to be in. I mean, they didn't really want to leave Upton Park. They were sold the world and sold a dream. It's a terrible stadium.
It is.
It's not a football stadium. It never was. But the stadium they were promised, if there's clips of Karen Brady going through what the stadium and how they'll change it to make, and they've never delivered properly on that.
No.
And behind the scenes, they've not been run well. All I would say about some, and I'm not trying to start any kind of pettiness here, but be careful what you wish for. Again, I mean, David Moyes he's not everyone's cup of tea or flavour, but a lot of them are very quick to want him out the club.
Yeah.
And you do wonder, just what a good job he did there, really.
I can almost guarantee that if they hadn't sat Moyes, they'd still be in the Premier League this season.
I think so as well.
It would have been pretty.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I hear it a lot now and I see it a lot now. So many Everton fans want Moyes out the door. And again, it's like...
Really?
What I would say is he's annoyed me a little bit with some of the things he said at the end of the season. It's almost a bit like this plucky Everton attitude, whereas actually, like, can we just stop all that? We need to be up there doing and speaking differently, etc. But coming back to on point, yeah, be careful what you wish for. So I feel a bit for West Ham. I also feel a bit from the fact that they must be looking at it and thinking, "Fucking hell, Spurs have got Everton, so that's a shoe-in." Because West Ham won, didn't they, as well against Leeds?
Yeah.
So they did their bit, and all they needed was for the one and only team that don't go on there and get a result. And but on the Spurs thing, I mean, it's always made me laugh that they're classed as one of the big six, and they're only classed as one of the big six because of finances. They're not classed as one of the big six in terms of footballing merit. They're just not. Spurs fans, if you're watching or listening, just be honest with yourselves. You're not. No one classes you as a really big team. They never have done. You've never done it in terms of, yes, historically, a bit like Everton, other teams, you've won the league X many times, FA Cup, etc., European trophies. But, in the last 40 years, how much have you really done? Very little. So, yeah.
I saw a post the other day from a Spurs fan when Villa won the Europa League, and he said, well done, Villa. It's nice to see the smaller clubs doing well. And I just thought, you absolute arrogant prick.
Yeah.
Villa are a bigger club than Spurs anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they did it in style, Spurs. You played your final, let's be honest, was one of the worst in history. It was really embarrassing watching two terrible football teams.
Yeah.
That match was so beyond boring and of low quality, and a scuffed, bumbled goal to win it. Yeah, we covered it, and we said at the time, congratulations. You'd still want to win it if at the start of the season someone said we'll win a European trophy and finish 17th, would you take it? Yeah, I would, because it is all about moments. We keep saying that, so I was really pleased with the fact that Spurs had a moment, but stop classing yourself as a massive club and a really huge, you're not. And I agree. I see there's a very as well. I hate all this. Well, we're a really big team. I hate all that. I hate when people say, "Well, Everton, they're too big." It's like, it's not about the size of you. It's how you operate as a team. I get sick and tired of all this big and small club thing. I think the likes of Brentford, Brighton, Bournemouth, etc., they've blown that myth out of the water. It's not about
Mm.
that anymore. It's how you run as a club, how well you run, and the things that you do and the actions you take. So all
Yeah,
this big club nonsense is rubbish. I'm a bit like you. I was really concerned a few seasons ago because everyone went through it 3, 4 seasons on the bounce, and you're like, sooner or later you're going to get caught. And luckily, we managed to get out of that cycle. If that's the only one positive of this season's just gone, we weren't in the relegation mix for once,
yeah.
which was refreshing. But you never know if the following season you might be back down. You just don't know. So
I call it
you can
circling the drain, mate. I guarantee if you circle the drain enough
long
times, you fall
enough.
down it. Yeah, you
But
do.
also with Everton, you think, and it's similar. It's always in the back of your head thinking just because we have one good season doesn't mean we won't struggle next season. And
Yeah,
I'd say the same about Spurs. If they haven't got it right behind the scenes,
yeah,
as you can't just suddenly say, well, De Zerbi's a great manager, therefore we will do great things. I mean, there's some of them saying, oh, we get through this season, we'll be challenging for Champions League next season. Well, you actually, who knows? You might, but
yeah,
equally,
yeah.
you might just still be down the bottom struggling again. So,
Yeah, fair
yeah,
point. Right, too much on the Premier League because we don't even like the Premier League. I don't anyway.
yeah,
But
I know.
let's go the Plaudits and Barbs and Brickbats for the Championship. I'm going to go through these quickly. We don't want too much comment on all of them because
Yeah,
I've gone through a lot. But we'll start with the obvious one. Coventry and Frank Lampard. What I'd say to you is, hats off Frank, hats off Coventry. Not the fact that you won the league and you're a non-parachute payment team, although that's refreshing, just the manner in which you did it. You know, you score two, we'll score four. You
yeah,
score three, we'll score five. You know, their goal scoring prowess was phenomenal. You know, and when Borough went top of the league, when we won away at Sheffield United in February, and we went away to Coventry, if that game had gone a different way, you don't know, do you? But since then, after their blip, Coventry have just ground out winning football, and they just score goals. And for me, Coventry well deserve to be A, top of the league, and B, back in the Premier League. You know, well done to Frank and well done to their players. They've built their squad though over 3 or 4 transfer windows, and it showed because they had 2 players for every position, and it makes a massive difference in the Championship. So
yeah,
well
it
done.
does. Yeah, very quickly and simply, fully agree on everything you said. I wouldn't offer anything else. I think you've summed it up perfectly, mate. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely
let's
agree.
let's go with Ipswich, who were in second. I've put them in neither column because I think Ipswich underperformed to finish second. When you look at their squad and you look at their manager, look at the money they've spent, and they spent the second most in Championship transfer window history, and they finished second. And it's not the fact they finished second; they were only ever in the second mix 3 games out from the end of the season. They never once put a run of games together. They were never
Yeah,
once in form. So I think well done Ipswich for going up. Fair dues. You got the automatic promotion. But you know what? I think Ipswich really underwhelmed this season given the squad that they've got. And I'm not giving them a barb because they went up. I'm not giving them a plaudit either. I think they sat right in the middle. I couldn't work out what I thought of them. I did think that given the squad they've got, they should have won the league by a significant margin, and they never really got a run of form going.
I agree. I think I've said a few times on the pod that I didn't really fancy them to go up. I thought they'd struggle, and they were kind of proved. Not that I wanted that to be the case, but and they proved me right for most of the season. That was their big downfall. They could sometimes get a couple of wins, and then they'd lose 2 or 3 on the bounce.
Mm.
Um, they were never consistent enough. And I think for the squad depth they had and the strength of the team they had, I expected them to do better, but
Yeah.
they just scraped it over the line. And they had a few decisions that went their way as well. I
Mm.
think they got quite a few penalties this season as well, the style of play that they go for.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I I think they'll struggle again next season, the Prem. I just think if they carry on playing the way they have this season, I think they'll really struggle.
Yeah.
Um, and
If
it's a
Kieran McKenna goes to Crystal Palace, that'd be even worse for him, won't it? Really, there's an
think
element of
so.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he actually might think his job's done at Ipswich now. Is like he might
Mm.
kick on and go somewhere else. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was a little bit underwhelmed by Ipswich, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it and to a brief point, they also had the parachute money, so
Yeah. We
I
don't
think
like
they were
that, do we?
expected to go up and managed to do it at the last bit. So yeah,
Yeah. I've got 2 more before we get into some controversial stuff. I've got Alex Neil at Millwall, third. Brilliant. Well done, Alex Neil. he's just a proper pro and manager at this level, isn't he? You know, hard to beat. Nothing special, I don't think, Millwall. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking Millwall. They finished, you know, 2 places above Borough and had the similar season to us. You know, we got to Wembley on a default, which you're going to come on to in a second. Millwall got beat off Hull in the semi-final. But, you know, Millwall were just always there. And everybody kept saying, oh, well, Millwall won't get autos. Millwall won't get autos. And but for hitting the bar at Ipswich in the 95th minute or something, and a couple of other things going their way towards the end of the season, they would have got automatics. And I'd say to Millwall, hats off. I just hope for the first time you've been in the playoffs for 20 odd years, from your case, I hope you can consolidate that, because it's very easy sometimes to get in the playoffs and then drop like a stone. You know, have you taken them as far as you can and all that? But hats off. I do hate the mill bloody. Just seriously, get a better chant. That's all I'll say. Just get a better chant.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit like having a chip on your shoulder, isn't it? It's like actually, no, not everyone does hate you. It's
No,
really not that. It's not that at all. I don't. I've really liked watching Millwall this season, and they just got better and better and stronger and stronger. And I think a lot of it was just based on confidence and playing really well as a team. They were great at our place. You
yeah,
know, we made the mistake of thinking we kind of had them boxed off, and we just sat off them, and they just punished us completely.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
They did a real job on us at the Riverside on Good Friday,
oh
didn't they?
yeah, they did. And again, you know, it must stick in the. I think it's a daft one, isn't it? Because the playoffs have been around now for 40 years. We all know the score, but it must still be hard to take when you lose in the playoffs and you've rightly finished third, 6 points ahead of Hull, and you're thinking, God, you know, what is this for sporting
Mm,
competition? We speak, don't we, quite frequently of where, as much as we know what it is and it's a spectacle. I'm still at odds with the fact that from a sporting perspective, you'd have to say, well, they finished there, they should go up. There shouldn't be any
yeah,
such thing as playoffs. It just should be sporting merit. But we know what the system is. I
it's
just
money, mate. It's money.
money, and it is. I think they'll be gutted with how they played in the playoffs. You
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that just
Didn't turn up in the second leg at
didn't
home,
turn
did
up in
they?
the second leg. Yeah, and I think they'll be after a long grueling season. That is brutal. So yeah, I
Yeah,
really feel for Millwall. But yeah, I really hope they kick on and do it again next year. And I think Alex Neil has done a brilliant job there. Yeah,
yeah.
fully agree.
Okay. I've got a couple of. Well, I'm going to quickly say to Hull, well done on getting promoted. Couple of caveats there. One is, I hope you don't play like you did at Wembley in the Premier League, because you get absolutely battered. Middlesbrough, in a game that we didn't want to be in, and we'll cover that in a second. I was okay with Hull going up, by the way, and you were as
Yeah,
well. I know
I
you
was as
were.
well. Yeah.
So good luck to them. We met some really good Hull fans. The game at Wembley was an absolute dog with fleas. We killed them on possession. All our season's been is kill people on possession. Ironically, and knowing it's going to happen, Ollie McBurney scores in the 95th minute. You just know it's coming, and they took the chance when they got it, and whatever. They didn't play great football, and they sat back and they want to hit us on the break. They'll get killed in the Premier League if they do that. So,
Oh
you know,
yeah, they
but
will.
but please,
Yeah.
please go and give it a stab, Hull. You know, don't do a bloody Burnley, turn up and not bother. Don't do what Norwich always used to do, the same thing. Give it a Leeds, give it a Sunderland. I don't know how much money you've got, but give it a
Give
go.
it a
And
go.
give it a go, Hull. Yeah,
Yeah, I would agree with that. They've actually got some players who can give it a go for them as well, who'll really give
yeah,
it, mix it up and make it hard. And I congratulated a few people on social media. I said, you actually have got players who can make, be gnarly and
yeah,
gritty and really get stuck in and make it really, even if you just make the game chewy and difficult for your
yeah.
opposition, just do that. But don't just sit back and think, well, we need to kind of play some nicey football and then catch you on the break and stuff, and
You get
try
killed.
try and become a Premier League. Don't just be yourselves and just make it. If it's gnarly and horrible, good. Make
Yeah.
it gnarly and horrible, but please give it a go. Just the fact that you've been where you have for the last few years, just don't just sit back and you know.
I would also say I've been to Hull many times as an away game, and I've been many times where it's the only stadium where you're 25 rows back and you're still getting rained on from behind with a roof. I don't
Yeah,
understand how it works. So it's a really weird. So players won't fancy going to Hull on a November,
it won't.
Friday night or a Monday night. It's bloody
It
freezing
won't.
usually. So well done.
Well
Now
done to them. Yeah,
this is what
but yeah,
I've not discussed any of this with you. So I'm going to put Borough in both. I'm going to put them in the Plaudits and the Barbs, right? So the Plaudits are at points this season. we've played some tremendous football. At
Yeah,
points this season, they've had me purring. You know, we Birmingham away, Sheffield United away. We were just tremendous that night. And the season
yeah,
we went top that night, didn't we? I thought we gave Coventry a game both games, but we were beaten by firepower on those games. You know, we've won 3-0 at Millwall. You know, we've not played that many teams off the park at the Riverside because they all come and sit back and block. So football wise, we've had some really, really, really good football moments. So I'm putting us in the plaudits for the style of play, and I hope that Hellberg gets the players he needs to play hellball next season. I'm very confident if he does, that we'll be definitely a force to be reckoned with next season. But for the Barbs and Brickbats, we came fifth in a two-horse race. We were in second or first place in the division more days than Coventry, and
yeah.
we finished fifth. We got in the playoffs and got beat over two legs by Southampton. I'll come on to that in a second. So we failed there. We get to Wembley on a technicality, which we weren't that bothered about getting the technicality. You and I weren't anyway, and we lose. So we've had three bites at the cherry, get promoted, and lost all three. You can't possibly say that's been a valid season on that basis. So
No,
they're definitely going the Barbs for that one for me.
I think it does. I also think what goes in the Barbs is that playoff final. For all the possession we had,
Oh,
that was one of the games where you look at and go, "What are you doing?"
yeah.
We didn't lay. I mean, they didn't really lay a glove on us much, but we didn't lay a glove on them. We didn't threaten them once. We didn't even look like scoring a goal. I don't think we even had a shot on target.
Their keeper never made a save.
Didn't
Panda
say
did
we
he
didn't
never
have to
made a
make it,
save.
and that for me is quite alarming, to be honest. And it is a worry for me because you know me, I'm always positive about everything. I'll see the positives in most things football wise, and especially over Middlesbrough and Everton and stuff. And but as the last quarter of the season's gone on, if you look at our stats, if
Awful.
that continues next season, we'll be nowhere near the top six.
No.
Absolutely nowhere near. You can hold the ball and kick and pass it around as much as you like, but if you've got no threat up top, you're not gonna do anything. And
Exactly.
teams will learn how to subdue you and
They
frustrate
all
you.
did. They all
And they
did.
and
Everyone.
but that's what I was coming on to. They've started to do that already. We're really struggling to score goals, and not just score goals, but actually forcibly worry
Yeah,
people. When
create the chances.
create
They can sit
yeah,
10 men behind the ball. We don't know anything out of it,
yeah.
do we?
So
You know.
I've heard loads of people raving about Hellberg and how amazing he is, but I've read a few interesting comments about the fact that says not many people are focusing on if you look at his stats over the last quarter of the season
Yeah.
and the players that we might lose and players that we might not get in the door, we could really. I hope it's the opposite. We get the good players and we kick on, but we could really go the opposite way very
Yeah.
quickly,
We could.
very quickly.
My view on Hellberg, which I'm giving him, full credit for, is it's not his team. He came in November. He hasn't had a pre-season. Hit the floor running. Then we had stop start, stumble stop start. So I give us plaudits for some of the games we've played and some of the football we've played has been sparkling. But actually, over the end of the season, by the way, for those who don't understand what my view is on this, it was the right result for football at Wembley. By the
Oh
way,
yeah, I would like to second that. We've spoken about it on the pod briefly, but a lot off air, and I've spoken with a lot of people. I didn't want to be in this position, and
no,
I hate the fact that for us calling out an injustice of what Southampton did, we've almost been made to look like the bad guys in this, which I
yeah,
find staggeringly dumbfounding. Um, but I didn't want to be associated and tarnished with it, and sadly we have.
mm,
Um, I didn't want to buy into the final. I mean, there's loads of connotations about what's right and what's wrong. And when you look at it, if you break it down, it probably was. I can understand why the EFL gave it to us because if you think about it, if Hull won their playoff semi-final by rights, so if you
mm,
then go back and start, replaying the whole semi-finals and kicking Southampton out and perhaps bringing Wrexham in, Hull would turn around and say, "But we won ours." So
yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing an injustice to Hull.
Who've done
Also,
nothing wrong, by the way.
exactly. So whichever you look at it, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So really, the fairest way to do it is probably Southampton were caught. So you look at it even though they've done other things, you look at it in isolation of who's it impacted. So you reinstate Borough, whether you like it or
Yeah,
not. That's probably how you do it. No one
yeah.
wanted it. No one wanted to be in that situation. I
No,
hope it never happens again. And I think it was absolutely fair for football because, how many times can you say you had 3 bites at the cherry and failed in every single one? So
Yeah, that's
I'd
fair.
have, and even though you can't, even though it sticks in your craw to kind of say, oh, just give it to Hull, really you kind of, they probably should be made to play a final and get through having played a final. But
Mm.
in this situation, the whole thing left such a bad taste in everyone's mouth. If they'd just given it to Hull, I wouldn't have complained.
No,
I wanted the whole situation to go away.
so did
So,
I.
um,
I'm gonna give a
yeah,
plaudit to the Borough fans. We sold 38,000 tickets in less than 48 hours and
yeah,
all marshalled resources, coaches, everything to get to Wembley and put on an absolutely fantastic fan
yeah,
experience. Hull didn't sell their tickets. They had 10 days to sell. They didn't sell out. There was two big blocks of tickets that didn't
yeah,
sell. It's more of a rugby league town. I get that. And Hull KR were at the Wembley again yesterday. It's probably some of the same fans. Um, but Borough fans were sensational. But the actual Borough in Trafalgar Square, Borough fans meeting Hull fans, it was a great day out and the right game, right thing football. Conscious of time, I'm going to give a massive a barbed wire rolled up fence to Southampton. I'm sorry, Southampton. You have brought the game into disrepute at the end of the season. You have cheated. You've been found to cheat in 3 occasions. I and many other people don't believe that it was only Oxford away in December, Ipswich at home in April, and Borough in the playoffs. What were you doing between January, February, and March? You didn't get caught at the others. You had an 18-20 match unbeaten run. Southampton, a disgrace. And what's disgraceful, and I feel sorry for a lot of their genuine fans who, booked tickets to go to Wembley and flown in from abroad and all that. I feel sorry for that. I don't feel sorry for their players because their players have acted abhorrently in a lot of this, with how they've responded. So some of them deserve it, Harwood Bellend and people like that. Um, but deflecting blame onto Borough as if it's our fault. I'm sorry, I can't wait for you to come to Riverside next season. We've got a new found rivalry, and it's all your making. And you know what, Southampton? You got caught. Take your punishment. Stop moaning. When half your players leave next season, you might do a Leicester, and we're all hoping for that. But be prepared for the fact that in next season's away games, every single away game, you're going to get called cheats, and that's on you. It's not on Borough. It's not on Hull. It's not on Millwall. It's not on the AFL. It's on you. That's all I want to finish with on the barb for Southampton.
yeah. I've been really disappointed with how their the club itself have handled it. The FA are now looking into it, which might lead to further sanctions and more repercussions for the club. Um, but I thought their statements they came out with to try and defend themselves and try and get this turned over was appalling. The first one was embarrassing. Using references to other sanctions against other clubs, which was just and trying to make out that they'd been penalised by 200 million quid, which was something you hadn't actually won yet, which is just embarrassing. But the second
That
one,
that was so disrespectful to Hull, by the way, wasn't it? It's
yeah, it's
almost like, well,
very,
we're just going to turn up
yeah,
at Wembley and beat Hull for 200
yeah,
million quid. Absolutely
yeah. The
not.
reference to
Arrogant.
Luton Town, who nearly went out of business, by the way, Southampton. I mean, all these references were so embarrassing. And the second one, and then saying, "Oh, we'll be fully, support, being part of some kind of, you know, committee to look at this." It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
Seriously,
yeah.
some kind of committee to look at, you know,
How we've acted.
basically cheating. Apparently Phil Parsons, who has come out of this for me appallingly, has buggered off on holiday. They
Mm,
seem to be still supporting Tonda Eckhart as manager. I will. I think most there's a lot of really good Southampton fans out there who've just held their hands up and said, "I want no part of this. It's shameful."
yeah,
Really
yeah.
sensible people. But I would. I've seen a lot of fans on social media, and I know X is one of these platforms where you get a lot of good people and you get a lot of morons.
Mm,
Some of the comments I've read from Southampton fans on there, you just step back, look at what you're writing, be ashamed. So many comments of just trying to trivialize what you've done as a club. These constant references to, oh, well, it's just a kid with an iPhone. It was. I'd have, go and read the EFL's commission report for
yeah.
Southampton fans. All of you, go and read it. It was way more than that. Way
Yes.
more than that.
Mm.
And whether you think it's just or not, you've broken the rules. You've deliberately broken the rules. Face the consequences and just act with a level of common sense to say, well, hang on, if we've been fined and gone up, that means nothing. A fine is pointless. The points you've been deducted is pointless. The reputational damage you've received is irreparable for me. It's going to take years for you to
Yeah,
recover.
it
And
is.
if you as a club can't recognise that whether you think Borough should have been given a bye or not, no one wanted you in that final once they discovered what you'd done. There's no
Yeah,
way on earth you should have been in that final with an opportunity to go to the Premier League after what you've done. If you
yeah,
think different, I can't understand why any of you that can't think rationally think you've been poorly treated. You haven't.
no,
And some of the comments I've seen about our club and what they think of us, well, quite frankly, most of you morons, none of us care what you think anyway.
no.
I'm just,
Bring it
I'm
on,
just,
by the way. Bring it on.
we don't care, but I'm more staggered that you are so ignorant that you don't think what you did has caused any issue
Yeah,
or damage to the game. And I really hope that everywhere you go next year, and bizarrely, I thought, and I think a lot of people were the same. I thought as a club before this, I liked Southampton. I liked the way you operated, recruited. I've been really let down by how, as a club, you've dealt with this whole situation. So I'm with you, Nick. I think everywhere you go next season, I hope you get absolute pelters. But sadly, I think where we go next season, we'll also get tarnished with it, and that's what I think is really
wrong.
disappointing. And all these fans who come out and say, "Oh well, if it happened to us, we wouldn't have been bothered. We just would have rolled over." No, you wouldn't.
No.
No, you wouldn't. You just wouldn't. Stop.
You'd be
Stop with
embarrassed. You should
yeah.
be
Stop with all
embarrassed.
that. Yeah, you should be. Stop with all that bollocks. Of course you wouldn't. Steve Gibson and all this. Oh well, on the EFL Commission there was two ex-Borough directors. Or they had nothing to do with it. They had
No,
nothing to do with the decision. Stop saying there's kind of like it's corrupt and there's insider stuff and it's all been
no.
absolute rubbish. Read the commission report.
That's
So
all you said. Read the commission
read
report.
the
You
commission
would be
report.
embarrassed, and you should be.
And
Right.
so I think on that front, the fact that if he stays in the job next season, that's
Mm,
just staggering for me. And it just shows that actually Southampton have shown, and they still haven't shown any contrition for the whole thing. And that
no.
for me is what I found really appalling about the whole situation.
No moral compass. Right. I'm going to go very conscious of time. I'm going to say I'm going to give praise to three managers, and I just want a very quick. Are you in
Yeah,
agreement with me? Paul Clement at Norwich, brilliant job. John
yeah,
Mousinho, Pompey, 8 points clear of relegation with a very small
yeah,
budget, and coveted by quite a few clubs. And John Eustace at Derby, he's a really good manager at this level.
yeah.
So Eustace, Clement, and Mousinho, I'm going to give them plaudits. I think they've all done great jobs. Would you agree? Yes or no? Very briefly for
Completely
time.
agree on all three. Absolutely, mate. For the reasons you've given. Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
I'm going to finish with the Barbs, right? Okay. Sheffield United, what were you doing at the start of the season? What were you doing at the start of the season? Just, I mean, that's all I'll say. What were you doing? And then to sack Wilder and then bring him back embarrassingly. And even then, they haven't had that kick on. They finished 13th. I think they'll come back next season, but they've got no parachute money after this
Yeah.
season. So they might
They
find that.
never recovered, did they, after the Sellesh debacle?
Oh,
So you were
no.
kind of you were hindering Wilder straight away. So he's never really recovered from what went on at the start of the season. But I agree with you. I think they'll come back stronger next year. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got three. QPR, Preston, and Stoke. What's the point of any of three of you? What's the point of you three? QPR 15th, Preston 14th, Stoke 17th. Stoke was second at the start of the season after about 8 games, and all their Stoke fans are going, Stokey, Stokey, we're going to win the league. Stokey, Stokey, we're getting in the playoffs. And I said right then, you'll finish 15th to 17th because you always do. And lo and behold, they finished 17th. Oh my God, to mention the fact they had some injuries. Oh my God, we all get injuries, Stoke fans. You finish 17th every season. What is the point of Stoke? What is the point of Preston? What is the point of QPR? And for one, when I see the fixtures come out in June, I look at there and go, oh, depressing, and we're playing Stoke and Preston and QPR again. Oh my God. Anyway, what's the point of those three?
That's harsh, mate. What's the point of them all? God, I mean, I I was really I was really rooting for Preston, and I was kind of really amazed at their drop off, and I was disappointed at
What
their
to
drop off.
you're rooting for them to finish 12th, were you, instead of
No,
fourth?
I just thought it was really good that they were in the mix for so long in the season, and literally just dropped off a cliff.
They
I'd really
always
like to
are. They
see
do it every
do
season,
it
mate.
every
It's their
season.
season.
I know, and it as Preston fans, it must be so frustrating because I actually I do wonder because Harrison Armstrong of Everton was there on loan and he was doing really good things, and I do wonder whether I'm not putting it all on him, but whether him coming back to Everton in January has affected their season because he was playing so well for them.
Yeah,
Um, QPR, they're an odd team. They can literally pulverise you and then lose 4-0 the week after. They
yeah.
seem to be a club in a state of flux. I really like QPR, great little club. I love Loftus Road, always have done. Really like an away day.
The away end's terrible. It's got the worst leg room, the worst
Yeah,
height.
it
You
is.
can hardly see the
It's
pitch.
it is, but
Rubbish.
it's such a
A
unique
good
little
day out though. It
place.
is a good day out
Yeah,
though, must admit, yeah. Yeah.
Stoke,
£8.
Stoke. I don't have much sympathy for Stoke. I've never liked an away day there. I don't like going there. It's always miserable.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that they've literally been subsidised to death by their owners, who never seem to get it right. They never find the right blend of player. Um,
We're playing an
they,
empty stadium every week as well.
yeah, they
Pretend we're a
don't.
decent club.
Yeah, they don't stick with managers for. I think they'll stick with Robbins because I'm not really sure who else will
Whoa,
go
whoa,
there
whoa,
after
whoa,
that.
whoa. No, 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 no. All the talk is that he's on his way out.
Really? Okay.
Oh,
And if that's the case, then I have no sympathy. I don't really have much sympathy for them anyway. They generally play most seasons. They just play generally forgettable football. And actually, they
yeah.
started off this season quite strong. I actually thought Robbins was getting a tune out of them. I thought, oh, they
Top
could have a
six.
season where they kick on. Zorba Thomas was playing great the first half of the season,
Yeah.
but yeah, so yeah,
I
disappointed
knew they'd
broadly.
finish 17th, mate. They
Yeah,
finish 17th every season. And I
yeah.
don't care who they sign in the summer. I don't care how they start in the summer. I don't care how they start next season. Stoke will finish 15th, 16th, or
I
17th
think
the
they
next
will.
season.
Yeah, I
There is
think they
no
will.
point to Stoke City. Right, very, very briefly. Watford, car crash, shit club. West Brom, what were you doing to bringing a guy from the MLS? You almost lost your league status as a result of
Yeah,
doing that. That was a terrible decision. And the biggest barb of the lot, Leicester City, you're an embarrassment. Your players are absolutely disgraceful. Harry Winks, Mavadidi, these kind of players, West Vestergaard, 60, 80, 90, 100 grand a week, and they didn't turn up week in, week out and didn't play for the badge. And you got relegated, and you deserve to get relegated. You won the league 10 years ago. How do we know that? Because you never shut up about it. Leicester City have been an embarrassment to the division this season. They've had the heart of a pea. West Brom nearly blew it by bringing a guy in from the MLS. Would have been your own fault, and Watford just a car crash. That's all I want to finish with. Thoughts on that very briefly?
yes, I agree. Watford, I'll never agree. I've never agreed with their managerial model. I just can't. I think as fans, it must be soul destroying. We've said before on previous pods. I can't ever get my head around that, and I don't think they'll ever achieve what they want by operating the way they do. West Brom, yeah, they've had a very muddled, turbulent season. I think they need someone there and stick with them and get some stability because I think if they do that, they'll kick on because they always do if they're solid and everything's running well, they're a good club.
Have they appointed Morrison permanently? Then do we
I
know or
don't
not?
know. I don't think they have yet, and I think they need to
Right.
get. I think they need to get on that because I think them messing around with managers has really impacted them this season. Unfairly
Yeah.
dealt with in terms of the points deduction. Leicester, yeah, completely agree. I don't think anyone has any sympathy for them, and I mean, they're everything behind the scenes in the club is wrong, but all of those players should have been more than
Oh,
capable of kicking them on. And the fact that they literally either didn't have the heart for it or down tools or both, it's a disgrace.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that's all to say on that, mate.
Okay, well, that's the Premier League and Championship plaudits and barbs and brickbats for the season. No awards. We just like to say, what we think of various things. What I will say to you is we've got another one next week, which is going to be League One, League Two, and Scottish Premier League, and we'll also do a little bit around the um, a few European kind of observations if we have time. So that's been end of season plaudits and barbs number 1 in association with our friends at Huddle Up, who are also looking over the summer to engage with supporters groups and liaison with clubs around mental health and mental health awareness. Episode 50 next week, 50 episodes. You'll be able to see your famous line there, Dom,
I
when we
will,
get to
mate.
it.
Yeah.
Plaudits and Barbs, number 2, League One, League Two, SPL, and some European observations. It's been a slightly longer episode than normal, but we appreciate you sticking with us, and thank you again for being a great co-host and not being prepared for this one, mate. So that was
Yeah,
quite interesting.
I've loved it. I've really liked it. Knowing that I'm not really knowing what's coming up, and same with the next one that we're going to
Yeah,
record. So, yeah, I've loved it, mate. Really enjoyed it. Looking forward to doing the next one.
catch you soon, mate. Cheers. Okay,
Will do,
bye.
mate. All right, see you.